So do you think your friends are a good or bad influence on you?
A decent influence, does that work?
I would say I have a little bit of both, you know. They're good influence at times and they could be bad influence sometimes.
I think they're a little bit of both. Sometimes they influence me to do good things, sometimes bad things. Like I always make sure I do good in school, but when it comes to other things, I guess, I can be influenced easily.
I think they're a good influence. Why? I don't get in trouble, so they have to be a good influence.
I think my friends are a great influence on me. They inspire me to have fun, as well as pursue my goals in life.
They don't fall under peer pressure, and they show me like the right way to do things and not the wrong way.
I think my friends are a good influence. I wouldn't be hanging out with them if they weren't. And the people who I thought were a bad influence in the past, I've let go as my friends. So
I 100% agree. That's exactly what happened to me.
My friends are like the best part of my everyday life. Seeing them, hanging out with them, and the way they influence me and my life is a gift every day.
They're a good influence on for the most part.
Why?
They help me stay, focused on my goals. Like they make sure have my head on my shoulders.
Most of my friends are good influences on me and good people to be around.
Why?
They just point me in the right direction, help me make decisions.
In grade school, it wasn't that big of a difference, so we didn't have bad influence. But once you got to high school, there was a big difference. I did have a lot of friends that really influenced me to do stuff, but you get out of that stage, and now I've more matured, and I know what's the difference between right and wrong.
As teenagers, our friends are some of the most important people in our lives.
They're our constant companions at school, on sports teams, and in youth groups.
Our friends make up our entire social scene, and while it's natural to feel loyalty to those we share so much in common,
it's not always easy to determine if our friends are leading us down the right path.
Are your friends a good or bad influence on you? That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Dylan, and this is Realfaith TV. The American inventor and automaker Henry Ford once said, "My best friend is the one who brings out the best in me."
While we desire to meet people who encourage us to be our happiest and most virtuous selves,
we sometimes get caught up with friends who make us feel like we can never measure up.
Do your friends bring out the best in you or make you feel like you have to change to fit in?
Let's go back to the teens on the street and see what they have to say about this.
Let's check it out.
Do you ever feel like you have to work and change to fit in?
No, my friends make me feel very comfortable. I mean, I've known them forever, so they know what I'm like, and they know that they don't have to change me or don't have to try to change me.
they see me at my worst, and they definitely always bring out the best in me.
They love me for who I am and what I do and how I am, so I mean, it's like they follow me, you know what I'm saying, because I'm the leader, you know what I'm saying?
There's always that popular crowd that you want to try and fit into. So yeah, I do sometimes feel like I really do change myself, but I realize that that's not who I am.
There was a time when I did, and I think everyone has.
No, my friends, basically just be myself and we have fun all the time.
I just moved to the town where I live in about 2 years ago, and it's been kind of easy for me to make the change and fit in.
We all have those few times when, we do things we don't want to do. It's called peer pressure. Don't let that get to you out there, you know what I'm saying?
We go to parties and get in trouble sometimes, but never anything horrible.
One of my friends took some drug that I would never feel comfortable doing, but she did it.
My friend, everyone has tried drugs and alcohol and pretty much all that stuff.
Yes, my friends always smoke pot.
You're always surrounded by your friends who are telling you to do one thing, but you kind of just gotta go with your heart. I mean, and not change for anybody. You gotta be yourself.
I pretty much, steer my own path. I like to, I steer clear of the wrong choices. If I know something's a fishy situation, I gotta stay away from that.
When I don't fit in, I'll eventually find people who I do fit in with.
I know a couple of my friends who have made mistakes because they were influenced by other people, but I stay away from that and try to make the right decisions.
It's all about, what you believe in, what your values are, how you grew up, what you stand for.
It's tough when everyone around you seems like they're doing the wrong thing, but it's really important to remember your values and what you stand for in your life.
Yeah, I mean, values are something really important, in choosing your friends. Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about this.
All right, they are Gina, Kira, Ijama, Dan, Daniela, and Chris.
So, do your friends always encourage you to be your best?
Or do they sometimes discourage you and put you down?
Well, I feel like they encourage me, and that's why they're my friends. I mean, sure, they persuade me if I have a bad idea or I shouldn't be doing something, but most of the time it's not in a harsh way. They're like, Kira, you probably shouldn't do that. So most of the time they just encourage me and telling me that I can do it if I'm having a bad day or helping me out.
I think because my friends and I have the same values and similar goals, we encourage each other. I think it's more easier than someone else who doesn't have the same values and goals as you are, or you have.
My friends definitely encourage me a lot more than they discourage me because they are actually my friends.
My parents, they think that some of my friends discourage me or not like a good influence for me, but honestly, like they are. Like if they weren't, then they wouldn't be my friends. So I feel like my friends really always want the best for me, and that's what a good friend is, right?
For me, I've got two kinds of friends. The first group, they're kind of like, they're the smart, they think things through, and then they encourage me when I've got a really good idea, and then they discourage me when I have a bad idea. But then there's the other group of friends. They're the exact opposite. They don't think anything through, they act on thought immediately, and if I ever had an idea, no matter what it is, they'll just be like, do it right now.
For me, all my friends are actually youth group friends because I don't go to a real school. So all my friends are pretty good and they encourage me pretty well. Like they have the same morals as me and the same values as me, and we bind very easily.
Every life is about balancing the risks and rewards of decision making. Do your friends help you to take good risks or bad ones?
Peer pressure works in both ways, both to encourage people into dangerous behavior, but also into virtuous.
Have your friends ever encouraged you to get involved in some dangerous behavior?
That's what we ask the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
Okay, they told me to funnel a beer, and I was just like, all right, I'll just go along with it.
All right, so they definitely have influenced you.
Yeah, definitely. Once you're in high school, drinking is a big thing, so I have been influenced to go to parties and stuff, but I realized after that some mistakes that I shouldn't have done, so now I know that that's really not me.
My friend likes to smoke weed, and well, he thinks it would be pretty cool if I smoked it with him, but I told him no.
One guy I know, he stole some money from somebody, and he said, you want any of this? You want some of this? And I was a little tempted to take some, but I had to decline. I had to stay away from it. I was like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, come on, this is wrong.
Do you think you've ever been a bad influence on someone?
I mean, I've been at parties with younger kids. I'm sure I've wrongfully influenced their lives.
Have you ever had to walk away from a friend or group of friends because you realized they were a bad influence and you didn't want to be pressured doing what they were doing?
Yeah, a couple times when kids were doing weed and drugs, had to walk away.
I know a couple friends who have tried to get me to have a couple of drinks or whatnot, and I turn it down. I try to make the right decisions and stay clean.
I went through a lot of ups and downs in the past, and I met a bad group of people, and they kind of brought me down with them. And I was influenced by everything that they were doing, whether it was like drinking, and I kind of just left them behind and found my real friends.
Yeah, I have to give my friends a lot of credit for that, because even though they're not always the best examples of what to do, they know that sometimes when things they're doing aren't right, they just don't even try to get me to do it because they don't want to see me go down that path,
I know a lot of people that like smoke weed and stuff, but they know that I'm like really against it. Like I absolutely don't like that. So they once they asked me to do it, and I was like no. Like they know I'm really strong. I'm really not for that, because also I try to get them out of it. So they respect my decision and they don't ask me anymore. So they never ask me, oh, do you want to join? Because they know that I'm not for that. But
Yeah, that's exactly like at my school. I used to have when I was in middle school, I used to have a group of friends, but then they started going down a different path, and it was mostly the guys, but they knew that my group of friends that are girls wouldn't participate in what they were doing, so they just stopped asking us. And even though it was bad at first, but now it's just so much better for me because I don't have to go down a path I don't want to go down.
Yeah, I have a group of friends that one night thought it'd be a good idea to go smash mailboxes, and they asked me to tag along, and I said no, I'd never do that. And they didn't pressure me at all, and it was in my best interest to not go, because even though I wanted to be with my friends, they actually ended up getting into a lot of trouble.
My friends are really good, I guess, because they never pressure me to do anything, and I'm really happy now that I hear all you guys' stories and I realize how good they really are.
Yeah, like Dan said, with my friends, I don't like being not just people who are into dangerous behavior, but just negative people who are gonna bring down your mood, just make you feel really bad about yourself. I make sure all my friends surrounding me are really good people and really positive. But our spotlight guest, Cliff, who's a producer for Grassroots Films and a member of the St. Francis House in Brooklyn, New York, is no stranger to the peer pressure that pushed him into doing drugs.
As a teenager living in New York City, he was exposed to many bad influences and dangerous behaviors.
Let's hear his story now.
I had loads of friends that were bad influences on me as a child, especially in school. I grew up in New York City and went to public school. So it's pretty much a free-for-all. Everyone who wants to try to do something bad, or if there's a drug that's the drug of choice at the time, everyone's trying it and doing it, which also tempted me because I had everyone around me trying the drug. If you weren't cool. I sort of fell under the peer pressure and eventually started to drink, and hang out with the wrong crowds. So I was 13 at the time, I'm 28 now. I had a couple of good friends, my best friends, that I always hung out with, and we made a pact where we would stay away from drugs, but I was the last one to stay clear from drugs, and they were the ones that sort of fell into it. So they were using it every day. They were smoking weed. One was using heroin and the other one was sniffing coke. So it was around me all the time, and I tried to stay strong. I remember one day we were hiding right by the park behind a couple of bushes, and I got high, and I just remember laughing, uncontrollably. And from there, I just started to get into other bad habits, and as I got older, 15 and 16, I started to use LSD, and as I got to 18 and 19, I started to use ecstasy. So if my friends would have been positive role models around me, I never would have, gotten into the drug scene. I highly doubt it. But because the closest ones to me were taking them, I sort of fell into it myself.
His story reminds me of a book I read called Go Ask Alice. And she was hanging out with these people, she's at her friend's house, these people who she thought were her friends, and they're all just sitting around, drinking Coke and having snacks, and someone had put LSD in her drink. And so from there, she got into more drugs, and it just led her down a really bad path, and she lost all her friends.
The story reminds me of a book I read. It's called A Piece of Cake, and it's about this woman. Her name's actually Cupcake, and her mother passed away because of a drug overdose, but then she got involved, and her life was just horrible. She was living in the street. She went from foster home to foster home. It was the book. I couldn't believe it was her memoir. And then, but eventually she turned her life around, and it's really inspiring to see that she found a group of friends that helped her get through it.
It's definitely a slippery slope with drugs, and we really have to be careful and watch what we fall into. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, we read,
"As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend."
This means that through companionship, our friends are shaping us as we are shaping them.
Do we always take the initiative to make the positive decision when with our group of friends?
Or do we let another handle the decision-making, no matter how much harm it may cause ourselves or others?
Next, Cliff talks to us about how he became a bad influence on his friends.
And how his faith in God helped him to change his life and make better decisions when it comes to choosing his friends.
I would influence others to also want to take drugs or even try it. From there I can have a buddy. So I was a bad influence to other people. For someone who needs advice in trying to break away from a group of friends that are a bad influence, if there's things that that person wants to do that are negative, just don't do them. But the moment there is something positive, or maybe you could recommend something positive to do, then go ahead and do that. I strongly believe I was in a negative situation myself. I was a bad influence. If I just had that positive person around me, then maybe I would have changed sooner than later. But if you don't feel as if you're that strong yet, and you really need to just completely stay away from your friends, then do that. If they call you to hang out, just tell them that you're busy and slowly detach yourself from them. And surround yourself with people who are positive, your friends, your family, your local priest. It was a church and God and my friends that, and my family that really changed my life. If you have a friend, for example, that believes in what you believe, it's easier to do the right thing. The more I hung out with my friends who didn't have the same faith as me or had the same beliefs as me, I start to do wrong, start to go into my bad habits again. Opposed to when I start to find other friends that start to go to church every week and do better for themselves. I sort of picked up on that. And I found, all right, well, I could definitely relate to this person. It's something I definitely want to do. It just feels right. So they helped me become more positive and go to church a lot more often. And from there, my faith became stronger. And it's all due to having people that believe in the same thing I do.
Yeah, I think a lot of teenagers just don't realize how strong-willed they can be with the help of God at their side.
Yeah, like I always ask God through a lot of prayer and discernment to guide me in, all the decisions that I make. So like, how has your faith helped you, when choosing friends and stuff like that?
Or helped you set a good example for your friends?
I agree that prayer does play a big role for me because I believe that I've already made like my lifelong friends now. And I always pray for God to like keep them in our lives and help us, encourage each other to do the right things as opposed to the bad things.
I mean, like I said before with my friends and stuff, I feel like because I don't do what they do, I'm actually being like a good influence for them. And God just has to help them. We have to pray so that they can be stronger. And I always tell them, like, no, don't do that. I'm like the one that's trying to get them out of it. So I just like pray to God to help me and make them stronger so they can get out of it.
I agree with what Cliff said, because like when you share the same religious goals as another person, they understand like why you can't do certain things, and it's like easier on your friendship.
Well, like I said before, my friends are all in youth group or whatever, and just like deciding which friend I can trust is a big part within God and stuff, because I ask like God, can I trust this person? Is this person good for me? Like, can I trust them with what I need to go through, with the advice I need to get from a friend, from a good friend?
Next, let's go back to the teens on the street, where they share their advice on dealing with unhealthy friendships.
And how faith can guide you out of a negative social situation.
Just walk away. I mean, just don't get influenced. Just, if you have to even call a parent, just come get you. Just don't get absorbed into it.
If you want to change your group of friends, or change the scene that you're in, my first advice would be go to your family.
Just don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Walk away.
It's really hard, but you gotta just hang out by yourself and try to just move on.
They just really need to find themselves and be themselves.
To get out as soon as you can. I mean, it's your own life. You make your own choices, and you should make the right choice.
Just walk away and say no and do the right thing.
Come hang out with us.
Where is this going to lead you, later on in life? Where is it going to take you, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? What is it going to do for you?
Did your faith help you in any way to direct you away from friends who can be a bad influence?
Funny you asked that, because I'm an atheist, so matter of fact, it doesn't influence me at all.
It depends, because people say that faith can be a way out of things, but sometimes you're going to be on your own.
It's my faith, and a lot of it is the way I grew up, my family life. My mother always taught me to, do right.
You rely on God to help you choose the right path most of the time.
Yeah, sure, a little bit. God always has to be with you, so if He guides you the right way, then...
My grandma's really Catholic, so she's always told me to do the right thing.
Yeah, but if you look at things through God or Jesus' eyes and realize that they're the wrong things to do, you don't want to do them things.
Faith is a big part of my life. I mean, I've been raised Catholic my whole life, so not to drink, do drugs, sex before you're married.
I think it's important to believe in something and believe in God. I mean, I think it changes everything and just makes you feel not so alone and helps you to, get through it every day.
Yeah, my faith is definitely a huge reason why I don't get into certain things that I know that God wouldn't be happy with. How about you guys? How do you think faith helps you get out of a troublesome situation with a friendship?
Well, before the guy in the green cape said that he goes to his family, and I really think that's true, because family is my family is huge Irish Catholic, so they really helped me bring in my religion, and then they taught me. So if I'm with them and surrounded by them, they're always going to influence me to do the right thing. And if I ever have a sticky situation with friends, I can always just go to family.
For me this year, I went to a new school, and I guess it just took me a long time to adapt, or I was focusing more on my studies, and I really left no time for making friends or anything. And after a while, I just started looking towards God, praying, and I don't know, just asking, I guess, for somebody to hang out with. And it's always been said that He sends things in weird packages, because after a trip to the principal's office, I found a group that I fell in with perfectly. Even though our principal considers us a ragtag group of hooligans, they're still a great group of people.
I feel that my relationship with God helps me to, like, when I'm fighting with a friend, it helps me to forgive that friend because Jesus always forgave.
And when he walked around among like the common people and like people that like the bad crowds, he was their strength. He tried to get them out of it, like, you know what I mean?
He gave them, he was given the opportunity to help them grow and help them be stronger and help them like realize that they can become better people and they can get out of like what they're doing wrong in their lives, even back in Jesus' time.
Like, exactly, like that's like what we have to be in those kind of
we're given
crowds.
that opportunity now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, for me, one of my friends actually strayed from the faith or whatever. So I rely on my prayer. Just pray for her and like, just have faith that that relationship will build again in the future, that she will come back to the faith eventually when it's God's time.
Finally, our Spotlight guest Cliff talks with us about how he avoids negative influences.
And how through staying in tune with God, he's been able to further himself on a positive track.
I would still go out, hang out, make new friends. But the moment I would see something off color, I know that person I can't be friends with. Or if that person's into a certain lifestyle that I just don't agree with, I nip it in the bud and just don't continue it. I know what I'm capable of. I know how deep into garbage I can get, and I know how better off I can be if I just do the right thing. So once again, it comes to making a judgment call. What's gonna sort of keep me in tune with God and make sure I get into heaven? Now that I have my faith, it's sort of, once again, I have that understanding of what's right and what's wrong, having God in my life, you know? And if it leads me away from God, then it's wrong. If it leads me towards God, then it's right. Things really work out better that way. Like, I see myself to be more happier the more I follow my faith than if I were to fight against it. If I'm straying off, I know just to, all right, well, you got a little bumpy, just get right back on the road and continue on what Scripture tells me, what God tells me, you know, what I feel in my heart.
Yeah, like I would say at least 90% of my friends either drink or smoke or do something that I just don't want to be a part of. And, you know, there's more and more every day. But as I see that, I just have to try to stay strong. And with the help of my friends who don't do that stuff, which I have a couple, and that's really important, and also my family and my church, you know, I'm just really able to stay out of that kind of stuff, but still hang out with those kids and have a good time. So it's all about being strong and being true to yourself and following God's example.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I see myself as my friend's backbone and my friends as my backbone, and like without each other, we can't, like, you know, like a human body is not going to work at all.
Yeah. I really like what Cliff said in his interview about how if it leads you to God, to like strengthen your relationship with God, it's good, and if it doesn't, it's bad for you. And that's like such good, simple advice that everyone can follow. I mean, like, if someone's telling you, oh, you know, let's just cut class, let's just go get Rita's, like on a nice spring day, you don't know how many times that's happened, like, you just gotta be like, no, like, that's bad, I don't wanna get a cut, I don't wanna get a Saturday. So I really like Cliff's advice from his interview.
Finding new friends for me, like, you can single them out, say, this person I can trust with this person I can't, this person I can just be a friend to, and this person I can go deep with. And it's just a matter of who it is and like what the person is into. Like Dylan said about, like, if they're into drugs, you can still be their friend, but don't go too deep into that friendship that you get caught in what they're doing.
No friend is perfect, and certainly no group of friends is perfect either.
At a time in our lives when our friends are so influential, it's important to distinguish what kind of effect they have on us.
If you run with the tough crowd and you want to reinvent your social self,
take courage in doing the right thing, either by introducing positive activities or getting out entirely.
It would be a regrettable waste to find out too late that your friends have led you down a road that you never intended to go down.
Are your friends a good or bad influence in your life?
We'd like to know. Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we'll leave you today with a passage from Sirach.
When you gain friends, gain them through testing, and do not trust them hastily.
For there are friends who are such when it suits them, but they will not stand by you in a time of trouble.
A faithful friend is a sturdy shelter. He who finds one finds a treasure.
A faithful friend is beyond price. No sum can balance his worth.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV.
God bless.